Good morning. Welcome to the Soil Health Workshop. Today here in St. Joe. This morning we're going to start with Lisa Fultz, and she's going to talk to y'all about Legume seeding rate trial out here in the field. So let us know how we're doing. Any advice would be great. Thank you.
So I just want to echo thank you all for being here today. We are recording and live streaming this on our Facebook account with Dennis and RL on Twitter. Sorry, all the technology today, I can't keep up with it. So if you want to go back and watch any of the talks or anything, maybe have extra questions or you missed something, those will be available to you. This trial was planted late, unfortunately, this last fall in November. This is something that's supported by the Southern Cover Crop Council. They're actually looking at legume seeding rates across, I think there's 20 different locations across the southern and southeastern U.S. For 5 different types of cover crops. And so what you see is we have signs for each of the 5 that we planted, and they're planted at 4 different seeding rates. So we have sort of the NRCS recommended, 2 rates below that, and 1 that's a little bit higher than that, about 1/4 higher than what they recommend. And then what we did is, you can see what I'm standing in right now. This is drill seeded cover crops with overseeded with cereal rye. Right behind me is the same cover crop, which you can see look a little spindly at this time of the year. And because these were planted late, the hairy vetch, which is this one at our highest rate, looks really nice. We got a lot of ground cover out of that. But so we have drill seeded with cereal rye, without cereal rye, and then back behind that area we have the exact same setup, but that's all broadcast. So we're coming out, we collected yesterday biomass samples. This is the 160 samples we pulled, came from these plots that are simulating how much biomass would we have gotten if we planted in November and came in to plant for corn. And then we're going to come back in a couple months, pull again as if we're going to plant into either cotton or soybean. So we can see just how much more growth we might be able to get out of these covers if they get a little bit more time in the ground. Are there any questions about where this is the first year for this, so we don't have any data from it yet, but we are looking at biomass. We're going to look at nutrients that come out of the covers that we've planted here, and then hopefully be able to make some recommendations across the whole region, as well as specific to the state of Louisiana. Dr. Leonard?
Are you going to measure percent ground cover at certain times?
So the question was, are we going to measure percent ground cover? We haven't yet, but it's definitely something that we should look into, and we can certainly start doing that for these as well. Because you can, and you're more than welcome. It's a little bit muddy, but please come out, walk through them. You're not going to hurt anything. To take a look at them, you can see where they're drill seeded in and how much ground cover we got. The cereal rye did really well where we drill seeded it in. Where we did broadcast, it's a little hit or miss. But there are some of the covers, some of the clovers with the smaller seeds did really well where we broadcast them, didn't do so well where we drill seeded them in. So please feel free to come out, take a look. Some of these aren't ones that you would necessarily plant in this area. Common veg is not really all that common here, but take a look. You have a question? The lightest rate is 1/4 of the NRCS recommended rate, which they should be on. Yeah, on all the signs tells you what the rate was for each one. Yeah. Well, that's what we're doing this for, is to try and see if we can't make some better recommendations. We did that, some work. Josh Copes did a bunch of work on seeding rates. He's out here over there. And one of my grad students did some, and we actually decreased the NRCS recommendation for cereal rye. And we're working on trying to get better rates for Louisiana out of that work.
Yeah, that rate right there is 30
pounds. Yeah. So the highest rate is like recommended plus 1/4 or something. So they really wanted to get a good swath, because they did this with the cereals, and they found that even at the lowest rate that they put out for cereals, which was about 50 pounds, it was no different than when they put out like 150 pounds of seed. So they're doing a lot of work to try and really target and hone in on what those rates need to be to get what you want out of the cover crop. Any other questions? Oh. Finding everything?
Yeah,
Well, so yeah, this should be winter pea to about halfway through that one, and then we have a second rep that's behind that. It's a little different. So this goes to, if you look down there, there's a flag. Yeah, this is, yep. Yeah, these are the winter pea.
Lisa, when y'all broadcast, did y'all cover that? Or just
No, we just broadcast through it on the surface with hand seeders. So
you got some areas that I broadcast.
it's, yeah, no, part of it was because we got in just really late for these. But what's interesting is like some of our clovers actually did a little bit better at some of the lower rates on that side because they didn't get as deep as some of them did on our drill. So we did. Yeah, that's something that we need to be working on with our engineering group.
You know, if you're going to plant a cover crop, you got to treat it like a real crop.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't just half-ass it.
Set it and forget it. Doesn't work, unfortunately.
Because you can tell here, y'all planted across.
Yeah.
You got a real good stand of swine crap.
Oh yeah, yeah. The weeds did amazing.
Y'all didn't plant that, I know that.
No, unfortunately we didn't. Yes.
General recommendation would be best to plant with the cereal rye cover, just to.
Depends on what you want to get out of it. So my first recommendation was earlier planting is always going to be better. So our goal for next year is to try and get this in earlier than we did this year. If you want ground cover, that's your goal. Cereal rye, black oats really do pretty well here. And they do great for like weed suppression if that's what you're after.
Yeah, that's like weed suppression and reduce surface erosion.
Right, yeah.
soil
So
erosion.
the grasses are going to be your best bet for that. If you're wanting to get some extra nutrients to come in, that's where the legumes come in. And we've had, and on the trials I've done, our best has been things like winter pea, Austrian winter pea, and hairy vetch. We've tried some of the clovers. They do well. They're just not doing quite as much for us as the hairy vetch and the winter pea are doing right now. Again, it's all going to be a little bit specific to your location. If you have heavy soils, crimson clover doesn't do well. Red clover does pretty well.
Sandy loam.
You probably won't have too many problems, whatever you do in that kind of area.
We kind of have sandy loam mixed with clay.
Yeah.
It depends on what part of the field
Absolutely,
you're in.
yeah. So we're not quite going to like prescription cover crop applications like they do with fertilizer applications. But yeah, if you want to get ground cover and get the root system and that kind of thing, then cereal rye or black oats are really the ones that have done well for us. We've had some issues with wheat coming up, and then I know some people have had some problems with getting it terminated. Part of that I think is just with our temperatures. If you get in at the wrong time and you get a cold spell right after you try to do your termination, that's not going to be as effective as if you get in on a warmer day. So we've had better overall luck with or results, not luck, results with the black oats and the cereal rye.
Okay. And for the cereal rye and the vetch, you said the pea. Well,
Austrian winter pea is one that does pretty well for us here
and
as well. Drill seeded drill seeded does really well because you're going to guarantee you get seed to soil contact within that, and so you can see how well it did here, and for some of our different ones. If you have really small seeds and you're trying to do a mix, then broadcasting is actually potentially going to get you better because you're not getting those seeds buried down where they don't have as much of a chance, because some of our clovers and things maybe got buried a little too deep for us, and we just aren't seeing them much even in our drill seeded. Well, I mean, as much as it does, it goes back over and covers a little bit, yeah, but not really.
Now, something I was going to say, you know, did you ever try to run like a cultipacker over? That's going to incorporate.
We haven't on this location, no. This was part of on some of the other ones we do kind of have something that goes back over and gets a little bit of cover. So
Because I know that when I tried to plant with motor
yeah, I know.
They can come back and look, but that looks like that's got rain in it, so we need.
Yeah, no, we're all hoping to move in that way.
It don't look like he's got it.
All right. So if we can all head up back up on the trailers, we were going to move down. We've got a few more locations we want to hit. These will be here. You're more than welcome to come check them out at other times. And any information. And you can always email me, Mr. Hendricks, wherever he went, if you have other questions. All right. If everybody will head back to the trailers so we can move.